What if I told you that everything you think you know about visualization is keeping you stuck in the same reality, recycling the same patterns, attracting the same limitations? Most people visualize like they're watching a movie, passively observing scenes of success, abundance, or love from the outside looking in. But that's not visualization, that's daydreaming, that's mental entertainment, and it's exactly why most people who try visualization end up more frustrated than when they started. The truth is, reality isn't something that happens to you. It's something you're constantly creating, whether you realize it or not. Every thought you think, every image you hold in your mind, every emotion you feel is broadcasting a frequency into the fabric of existence. And that frequency is what determines the reality you experience. But here's what they don't tell you about visualization. It's not about seeing what you want. It's about becoming what you are. Real visualization isn't a technique. It's a way of being. It's the difference between hoping for change and commanding it, between asking reality to shift and realizing you are the shift. Most people approach visualization like they're placing an order at a restaurant, hoping the universe will deliver what they've imagined. But the universe doesn't respond to your wishes. It responds to your state of being. It mirrors back the frequency you're operating from, not the pictures you're painting in your mind. This is why people can visualize success for years and still feel stuck. They can see themselves wealthy, healthy, loved, but nothing changes. Because they're visualizing from the same consciousness that created their current reality. They're using the same energy, the same beliefs, the same sense of self to imagine something different. And the universe, always precise, keeps reflecting back their true vibration, not their imagined one. The ancient mystics knew this. They understood that to change your reality, you don't visualize a different outcome. You visualize from a different identity. You don't see yourself having what you want. You see from the perspective of already being who you need to be to have it. It's not about creating images of success. It's about embodying the consciousness of someone who has already succeeded. This is where most people get lost. They think visualization is about the pictures, but the pictures are just the surface. The real work is in the feeling, the knowing, the certainty that exists beneath the image. When you visualize correctly, you're not trying to convince yourself of something that isn't true. You're remembering something that already is. You're aligning with a version of yourself that exists in potential, waiting for you to claim it. The problem is, most people have been taught to visualize from lack. They visualize because they don't have what they want. They see success because they feel unsuccessful. They imagine love because they feel unloved. They picture health because they feel sick. And that energy of lack, that vibration of not having, is what gets amplified. The universe doesn't care about your images. It cares about your frequency. And if you're visualizing from a place of wanting, needing, or hoping, you're reinforcing the very reality you're trying to change. This is why traditional visualization often fails. It's built on the assumption that you're separate from what you desire, that success, love, abundance, or health are things outside of you that you need to attract. But the truth is, nothing is outside of you. Everything you desire is already within you, waiting to be activated. Visualization isn't about pulling something from the future into the present. It's about activating what already exists within you right now. When you understand this, visualization becomes something entirely different. It becomes a tool of activation, not attraction. You're not trying to create something new. You're uncovering what's already there. You're not visualizing to get something. You're visualizing to remember who you already are. And that shift in understanding changes everything. The mystics called this remembering. The quantum physicists call it collapsing the wave function. But whatever you call it, the principle is the same. Reality is not fixed. It's fluid. It's responsive. And it's constantly being shaped by the consciousness that observes it. Your consciousness, your awareness, your state of being. This is why some people seem to effortlessly manifest their desires, while others struggle for years without seeing results. It's not because some people are more talented or more deserving. It's because they're operating from a different frequency. They're not visualizing from where they are. They're visualizing from where they're going. They're not seeing themselves as someone who wants success. They're seeing themselves as someone who is successful. But here's the key. You can't fake this frequency. You can't pretend to feel successful while carrying the energy of failure. You can't act confident while believing you're inadequate. The universe doesn't respond to performance. It responds to authenticity, to the truth of who you are beneath the masks, the stories, the limiting beliefs. This is why preparation is everything. Before you visualize, you need to clear the static. You need to release the blocks, the fears, the old patterns that contradict what you're trying to create. Because if you're visualizing success while carrying the belief that you're not worthy of it, the belief wins every time. If you're imagining abundance while feeling guilty about having money, the guilt will sabotage every opportunity. The ancient traditions knew this. They understood that visualization was never just about the mind. It was about the heart, the body, the soul. It was about becoming congruent, about aligning every aspect of your being with the reality you wanted to create. They didn't just see their desires, they became them. This is what separates real visualization from wishful thinking. Real visualization is embodied. It's not just mental, it's emotional, physical, energetic. When you visualize correctly, you don't just see yourself successful, you feel the confidence in your body, you carry yourself differently, you speak differently, you make decisions differently, because you're not pretending to be successful. You are successful. The external results are just a reflection of the internal reality you've already created. But most people skip this step. They jump straight to the images without doing the inner work. They try to visualize their way out of their problems without addressing the beliefs that created those problems in the first place. And then they wonder why nothing changes. They wonder why they keep attracting the same situations, the same people, the same limitations. The truth is, you can't visualize your way out of your own consciousness. You can't imagine your way past your own beliefs. You have to transform the believer. You have to become the person who naturally attracts what you desire. And that transformation happens not through visualization alone, but through the integration of visualization with aligned action, with conscious choice, with the willingness to let go of who you've been to become who you're meant to be. This is where most people resist, because real visualization isn't just about getting what you want. It's about becoming who you need to be to have it. And that often means releasing old identities, old patterns, old ways of being that no longer serve you. It means stepping into the unknown. It means trusting the process, even when you can't see the results. But here's what happens when you do this work. When you visualize from a place of already being rather than wanting to become. When you feel the reality of your desires as if they're already here. When you embody the consciousness of the person you're becoming. Reality starts to shift. Not because you're forcing it to change, but because you've changed. And as you change, the world around you has no choice but to reflect that change back to you. This is the secret that most people never discover. Visualization isn't about changing your circumstances. It's about changing yourself. And when you change yourself, your circumstances automatically align with who you've become. The opportunities appear, the resources show up, the right people enter your life. Not because you've manipulated reality, but because you've aligned with it. But this requires a level of surrender that most people aren't willing to embrace. It requires letting go of the need to control how your desires manifest. It requires trusting that the universe knows the best way to deliver what you've asked for. It requires releasing attachment to specific outcomes and instead focusing on the feeling, the essence, the energy of what you want to create. This is where the real power lies. Not in the specifics of what you visualize, but in the frequency you embody while visualizing. Not in the images you create, but in the consciousness from which you create them. When you visualize from a place of already having, already being, already knowing, you're not trying to change reality. You're revealing the reality that was always there, waiting for you to recognize it. This is the visualization that shifts reality instantly. Not because it's magic, but because it's truth. You're not creating something new. You're uncovering what already exists. You're not becoming someone different. You're remembering who you've always been. And in that remembering, in that recognition, in that embodiment, everything changes. The question isn't whether visualization works. The question is whether you're willing to do the work to make it work. Whether you're ready to stop visualizing from where you are and start visualizing from where you're going. Whether you're prepared to release the old story and step into the new one. Whether you're willing to stop asking reality to change and start being the change you want to see. Because once you understand this, once you truly embody this, visualization becomes less about technique and more about truth. Less about practice and more about presence. Less about doing and more about being. And in that being, in that presence, in that truth, reality has no choice but to respond. Not because you've forced it to, but because you've aligned with it. Not because you've manipulated it, but because you've embodied it. This is visualization as it was meant to be. Not a desperate attempt to escape your current reality, but a powerful tool for creating the reality you were always meant to live. Not a technique for getting what you want, but a way of becoming who you are. And in that becoming, everything you've ever desired naturally flows into your experience. Let me now reveal the deepest truth about visualization that will transform everything you think you know about creating your reality. Most people who discover visualization get stuck in what I call the manifestation trap. They think it's about better techniques, more vivid imagery, or stronger emotions. But here's what the ancient mystics knew and what modern seekers miss. True visualization isn't about perfecting your mental movies. It's about dissolving the illusion that you're separate from what you're visualizing. When you visualize from a place of lack, from a place of wanting something you don't have, you're actually reinforcing the very separation you're trying to bridge. You're telling the universe that your desired reality exists somewhere else, in some future moment, outside of your current experience. And the universe, being the perfect mirror that it is, reflects that separation back to you. The masters of manifestation understand something profound. They don't visualize to get something. They visualize to remember what they already are. They don't see themselves as separate from their desires. They recognize that consciousness itself is the fabric from which all reality is woven. This is why some people can visualize for years without seeing results, while others seem to manifest effortlessly. It's not about technique, it's about identity. It's about recognizing that the person who already has what you want isn't some future version of yourself. That person is who you are right now, underneath all the stories, all the limitations, all the beliefs about what's possible. Real visualization happens when you stop trying to create something new and start uncovering what already exists. Your dream life, your ideal relationships, your perfect health, your financial freedom. These aren't things you need to manifest, They're aspects of your true nature that you've temporarily forgotten. The most powerful visualization isn't seeing yourself getting what you want. It's seeing through the illusion that you don't already have it. It's recognizing that the feeling of fulfillment, the sense of completion, the joy of achievement, these aren't rewards waiting for you in the future. They're the very ground of your being right now. This is where most people struggle. They've been conditioned to believe that happiness comes from external circumstances, that fulfillment is something you earn, that love is something you find. But consciousness doesn't work that way. Consciousness is already whole, already complete, already perfect. When you align with that truth, reality has no choice but to reflect it back to you. The shift happens when you stop visualizing from neediness and start visualizing from knowingness. When you stop trying to convince the universe of what you want and start expressing what you already know to be true. When you stop begging for change and start embodying the change you wish to see. True visualization is remembering. It's not about creating something that doesn't exist. It's about uncovering what has always been there. It's about aligning with the truth of who you are, rather than the story of who you think you should become. And here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you stop needing your visualizations to work, they start working effortlessly. The moment you stop grasping for results, results begin to flow naturally. The moment you stop trying to force reality to match your desires, reality begins to reflect your deepest knowing. This is the secret that separates those who struggle with manifestation from those who seem to live in a constant state of flow. They're not better visualizers, they're better beers. They don't have more powerful techniques. They have less resistance to their own power. The most profound visualization you can do is to see yourself as you truly are. Not as someone who needs to change, not as someone who lacks something, not as someone who has to earn their desires, but as the consciousness that is already whole, already perfect, already everything you've ever wanted to be. When you visualize from this place of completeness, you're not trying to get somewhere else. You're allowing what's already here to become visible. You're not creating a new reality. You're uncovering the reality that was always present, but hidden beneath layers of conditioning and belief. This is why the most powerful manifestors often seem to do less, not more. They don't need complicated techniques because they're not trying to overcome their nature. They're expressing it. They don't need to convince the universe of anything because they're already in harmony with it. The transformation happens when you realize that visualization isn't about changing your circumstances. It's about changing your relationship to your circumstances. It's about seeing that the peace, joy, and fulfillment you're seeking aren't waiting for you in some future achievement. They're available right now in this moment as the very foundation of your being. So stop trying to visualize your way out of your current reality. Instead, visualize your way into a deeper appreciation of what's already here. Stop seeing visualization as a technique to get what you want. Start seeing it as a way to remember who you already are. The reality you're seeking isn't somewhere else. It's right here, waiting for you to recognize it. And the moment you do, everything changes. Not because you've created something new, but because you've finally seen what was always true.